I mean, inflation is still it is high in terms of like people. If you go to the grocery store, if you buy anything these days, I mean, prices really have gone up. So he's been feeling the pressure, I think, politically too, right? I mean, you're in a midterm election year. Biden wants to have a shot at keeping the Dems in control. And so people aren't happy that when they go to the store or they fill up their gas tank, it's costing them a ton of money. So we have to get inflation down. Inflation really is something that sucks because if you have a 10% inflation rate, it means that a dollar you have today, next year, it's only worth 90 cents, right? And so if you think about that, the money you're making today, if inflation stays high, it's worth pennies on the dollar in a few years. And that's why, you have to bring down these inflation numbers. So again, the idea here is he did raise, he's been raising a lot. The reason, and this is really counterintuitive, the markets are ripping right now after he raised. And most people would scratch their heads and say, why is the market rallying on this? And the answer is this, is even though he raised 75 basis points, he basically threw the market a bone saying, we're gonna be a little bit more cautious. We're getting close to the end of hiking. And I know, again, this is counterintuitive, but the market is so concerned that he's gonna overhike rates and drive the economy into a nasty recession that it actually is happy that he's getting close to the end. They're hoping inflation comes down from here and that he's done hiking, and then boom, crypto can rip again. And we're seeing a pretty nice move today. So a basis point is 0.1%. So it's really tiny, right? It's just 0.1%, not even 1%, 0.1. So 75 basis points means it's 0.75% was the Fed funds rate raised, right? And basically that's the level that what the Fed charges to lend money. And it basically what it does is it sets the kind of the floor on what banks charge you. Banks are always going to charge more, right? Because if they get X from the Federal Reserve, they need to charge Y to make money. So again, that's really what it is. But essentially, to kind of put it in super basic terms, the more interest rates go up, the more people pull money out of risk assets that are risky and say, oh, well, instead of taking risk here, I can get a guaranteed rate of return over here. And that's why it tends to slow the economy down. It sucks money out, which is why Jerome Powell's raising rates, because inflation is so high, he has to suck money out of the system to slow inflation down. So hopefully that was a little bit of a basic understanding of it. But yeah, I mean, 75 basis point hike today from Jerome Powell. People just, like you said, dollar cost averaging is important, especially when it's the most fear, right? I always feel like, I still remember when we were at 69 and I was saying, hey, we're going to go to 20. People would write to me on Twitter and say, I'll sell my kidney to buy at 20, but now at 20, they're like, oh my God, it's so scary at 20. And that's just the way markets are. And by the way, it's not to say that it's the low, we don't know, but again, I think if you have that horizon of 5 years, 10 years out, I do think you'll be okay buying down here. By the way, I think one of the keys for crypto bottoming, we need regulation. I know a lot of people are fearful of regulation, but if you want big money to come in and buy, which is a double-edged sword, right? You get big money and sometimes it's not a good thing, but for crypto, you need big money to really push the price up by buying all the Bitcoin up, and then the scarcity of it will push it much, much higher. So yeah, I mean, I think that's really the essence of it, is that be safe, dollar cost average, go in with hesitation, but with a thesis behind you, be defensive, don't go all in at any one buy, and just, be ready for anything and you'll be okay. All right, so this is what I'm thinking is the catalyst, is that right now we're getting this bounce because, a more dovish Fed without a recession, that's everybody wins. That's great for risk assets. Bitcoin is a risk asset right now. Later this year, what I fear is going to happen is we're going to start to slip into a recession. I think by October, November, December, we're going to see the numbers tell us we're in a recession. That's going to be a scary thing because Jerome Powell, with inflation at 4 to 5%. So right now it's like at 10%. It's going to come down, but it's not going back to what they want, which is 2% or under. It's going to be sticky around 4 to 5%. And what's going to end up happening is the markets are going to freak out that the Fed cannot rescue us with more money printing because inflation is still too high. Without that, everyone's going to run out of risk assets. Right now, crypto is still a risk asset. It's going to take another dump, in my opinion, on that. So I think that's your catalyst, is that the Fed can't save the day when we enter a recession. The NASDAQ, which has been leading crypto for a long time, is going to dump out another 20-25%, probably take Bitcoin down to that 12-ish thousand area. We're in a tough spot overall today, in this economy and in the world. But long-term crypto's here to stay. I love Bitcoin. I love Ethereum. The other coins, I'm still kind of doing some price discovery on and learning more about. I'm not the most knowledgeable person on different coins, but for now, I think Bitcoin and Ethereum, those are the ones you focus on. In bear markets, usually people tend to become more the hodler because they're down on positions, and just human nature, we don't like taking losses, so it tends to keep that. But I do hope more people start trading, or at least exploring it. And not to say that you have to be a day trader or even a swing trader, but just learning, it empowers you for the rest of your life. And this is what I tell a lot of the traders that I train is like, listen, you may not find your calling in being a trader and being in and out of stocks and crypto, but what you're learning now will help you in whatever career you choose, because